Okay, so I've been carnivore 6.5 months. I've been coaching people on carnivore for I'm sorry, 6.5 years. I've been coaching people on carnivore for 5.5 years, people all over the world. It's been a wonderful journey. You have accumulated so many stories at this point. You mentioned, maybe 50 or 60 making it into the documentary, including some of the doctors you mentioned. And you've described all the wonderful stories, the great stories in all your experience, plus all the things you do on the side, right? All the content you've created and other interviews you've done, people that didn't make it into the movie in your experience, drawbacks, side effects, things that did not go well. Yes, I reversed my mental health, but I didn't end up losing the fat that I wanted. Like, have you heard anybody like dropping out because they quit because it sucks, or something also came back? Or is it really truly, in your experience, have you noticed that pretty much everything across the board gets better, and you'd have to rack your brain to try to find one little thing that didn't?
Oh, it's a great question. Uh, for the most part, the healing is just incredible, but there are struggles for many people. I think one of the issues is if you're coming straight on for a standard American diet and you're ripping the Band-Aid off and you're going straight into carnivore, it's going to suck. Like it's going to be really hard. You may have issues with your gut bacteria adjusting. You may have the keto flu. And for some, they're like, I tried carnivore, and they did, like they tried it, but they maybe should have eased into it. That's one thing I see. Another thing I see, and I alluded to this a little bit earlier, is people that will start carnivore, but they don't realize that this isn't Weight Watchers. This isn't, I did good all week, now I can treat myself. Um, it takes a while to get your body into ketosis and get your gut bacteria, gut biome adjusted. One of the powerful things I learned on this is I had a woman on that was talking about her gut bacteria and how sensitive it is and how many of us are healing that on carnivore, and we probably don't realize it. There's a lot of people that report 3 weeks into carnivore just having this like, God, I feel good. Like, what is going on? And this person, Malia, she said that's probably because they're having a major die off of that bad gut bacteria because they're starving it of carbs and sugar and starches. And so when you have a cheat on carnivore, even if it's a little one, people hate it when I say this, but I got to speak the truth. I want to help people that are suffering. You can refeed that gut bacteria and it just flourishes. And now it takes a while to get back into things again. So this one little cheat thing, I would discourage people from. And I see a lot of people that start carnivore, and even if they don't think they're cheating, maybe it's an artificial sweetener or it's just a diet soda or something like that, it makes it so much harder for them. The last thing I'll say is um, some people that are maybe really skinny, or women, different types of bodies. Everybody's different. Everyone's on their own journey. I was incredibly blessed. This was easy for me compared to my wife, for example. My wife was vegetarian her entire life. I love steak. I was saying this to her the other day and she had a good argument. She's like, Kerry, imagine if I made you just eat broccoli the rest of your life. I gagged a little bit. I'm like, I don't know I could do it. That's what she had to do to become carnivore because she was disgusted by meat her entire life. So different body types, different journeys. If you're going into this really skinny and you don't have fat to lose, there could be challenges there, eating enough fat. But the biggest thing I'll end on with this one is the biggest mistake I see people meet is they will do carnivore and they will legitimately be doing it. They'll be eating meat, but they're not getting enough fat. And that's where a lot of people get messed up and they end up failing and they end up quitting and they end up suffering. It's especially if you're going through this for health issues, like for me, depression, anxiety, it's nothing to do with just eating lean chicken breast. That's carnivore, right? I'm eating it. It's all about the fat. And when we interviewed Dr. Eid, she told me, Kerry, you have two dials on carnivore. You have the protein dial and the fat dial. And a lot of people, especially with serious health issues, whether that's mental health or otherwise, they need to turn down the protein dial and turn up the fat dial. You can adjust that, get into a deeper therapeutic state of ketosis and find healing where you might not have otherwise. And so some people will do carnivore correctly, but not correctly. It's, as Dr. Kiltso, he says, it should be called fativore. It's really about getting all of that fat.
Yeah, so that's such a great point. I love that. And yeah, man, it's a slippery slope when you start to introduce some of those cheats. Like recently, I've gotten into like having like whole cashews, like salted cashews. I don't know why I started, but like I'll pass them at the grocery store and think like, I probably shouldn't. Okay, I will this one time. And like, dude, I've got the container leveled in like 3 or 4 nights. Like
Yeah.
you have a handful, and then you have a handful, and like, okay, I'm good. I shouldn't have any more. So 5 more handfuls, and then 3 more handfuls. And I found that like, dude, it's such a slippery slope. And if I just have all I need is the willpower when I pass them at the grocery store to just look the other way and not grab them, and then they're not in my environment and I don't have them, and it's not a problem. But if I kind of think like, oh, they'd be really good, if I do, they're gone. They're gone. I
Yeah.
can't handle it.
I love you mentioned cashews. I'm smiling because that was my go-to on keto before starting carnivore. And I did the same thing, Casey. I remember once I went online and I told my wife, I'm like, I'm going to get a really expensive scale because then I'm going to be held accountable to like just this many cashews will be X number of carbs. I could do it, right? It was the same thing you said. Oh, what's another handful? And then it's like, well, I've had too much now. We'll just start over tomorrow. But I polished that whole container off every single time.
Oh man, I'm glad you can relate. The scale thing's hilarious. Thinking we're actually gonna have the willpower to like not blast
Yeah,
past whatever our
I
goal
had these
is.
little cups. I'd measure them
Sure.
out in the cups. Never worked.
10 of them. Oh man. I do want to ask you to comment about one of the stories you followed, which was a beautiful story. Jeff in the documentary, such a wonderful human being from the looks of it. I never got to meet him. We didn't get to interview him. But can you share with us a little bit about Jeff's story?
Yeah, absolutely. So Jeff was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. When he recounted this to me in the documentary, it was one of the most powerful things I've ever heard anyone say was his interview. When they told him he had cancer, they said, Jeff, you are inoperable, incurable, terminal, you're palliative, and you have 3 months left to live. That is what they told him, gave him no hope whatsoever. And thankfully, through his friend Dwight, he found the carnivore diet. He found Dr. Chafee and he fell in love with Dr. Chafee and Dr. Baker and Dr. Barry. He started watching these videos and he started doing carnivore and he started thriving. He was doing chemo before this and he was suffering. He had stomach issues and he was on the couch and he was fatigued and everything that you've heard about with chemotherapy. It's brutal, right? He started doing carnivore and he was still doing chemo and it was tolerable. Like it wasn't even hardly bothering him anymore. And then he just started absolutely thriving. He's running, he's exercising, he's on the soccer field. In his 40s, he's like, I feel like I'm 20 years old again. I feel better than I have my entire life. And with stage 4 cancer, he wasn't even like talking so much about cancer. He's just so fired and passionate about carnivore. He's like, everybody should be doing this. I should have been feeling this way my whole life. And Jeff was diagnosed with 3 months to live. He survived for 30 months. He went 10 times what they diagnosed him. And I got to thank Professor Seafried. I didn't even know about Seafried. We never were going to have cancer in our documentary. It all happened because of Jeff. And if I'm being honest, when Jeff first approached me, I'm like, this is too much. This is too heavy. And who am I to like, this is like beyond me. Like, I don't have any right to be doing this. Someone else should be reporting on this thing was my thought. But I'm so thankful that we included Jeff in our documentary. And then it expanded from there that we included Professor Seafried. We interviewed his entire team at Boston College. And we have 5 other people in the documentary with cancer. And all of that was because of Jeff and his story. And the last thing I'll say on Jeff is his story is the most powerful story in our documentary. What he said as well in the documentary was he looked at the camera and he said, I believe that I caused my cancer through lifestyle and diet. And most people in the world are told, Jeff included, he was told when he was diagnosed with cancer, he said, why? Why did this happen? They said, we don't know. You're just a fluke. You're just a fluke. We don't know what. And that's what everyone's told when it's either your genetics or it's a fluke. And the only option is expensive chemotherapy. There's never any other option or tool. And Jeff wanted the world to know there is another tool in the toolbox. It's metabolic therapy. It's what Professor Seafried talks about. And Jeff wants the world to know that that metabolic therapy gave Jeff 2.5 precious years extra with his wife and children that he wouldn't have had otherwise. And so his story is such a powerful part of our documentary. It's so sad that we lost Jeff. He became a best friend of mine. But his story is so powerful because it's a cautionary tale. There's a lot of people that I'll talk to now and they'll say, oh, I'd like to do carnivore, but I like my pizza too much. I like my junk food too much. I like this too much. Careful, because you're 1 in 2 of us watching this right now are going to be diagnosed with cancer. And the sad and brutal truth is, this is harsh, but when you're diagnosed with cancer, you likely caused it from lifestyle. Years ago, it was from smoking. Nowadays, if your body is chronically and systemically inflamed for years and years and decades, that's how you end up with cancer. That used to happen from smoking, but now the majority of people's bodies are chronically and systemically inflamed from the foods they're eating that are chronically inflaming them for years and years and decades. So his story is a cautionary tale. And we've got 3 big stories in the documentary, Bill, Lynn, and Jeff. And then we have a lot of smaller supporting stories that'll then be in the series. But Jeff's story is the most important one in the documentary. And I can't wait to share it with the world because I think it's going to help so many people. It already is. The last thing I'll say, sorry, I'm rambling, but we got one other guy in the documentary, Anthony Haydick, stage 4 terminal gist cancer. This guy is thriving on carnivore. He sounds exactly like Jeff. He only ever learned about carnivore because of Jeff, and Jeff being brave and sharing his story on his YouTube channel. We filmed Anthony along with Dr. Baker as one of our last interviews on the documentary.
Well, it's easy to look at the situation and say it's so sad that he's gone. To think maybe it was too late. The carnivore couldn't do enough at that point is one thing, but also you think about all the quality of life that he got to experience at the end of life and how he was able to change that. And now, even though he's gone, he's going to continue inspiring people all over to change. And so, yeah, like I said, I never got to meet him. He looked like an absolutely amazing human being from the things I did get to see, but to think that he now has a legacy that's going to outlive him and he was able to create that and you're now able to share that, I think is something that's very, very special. So I really appreciate you chatting about him. And I'm really grateful you left that as a main story because it's very powerful and needs to be told. So yeah, I really appreciate that.